Hello and very welcome everyone to this session of the World Geography. In today's topic, we are going to discuss the landforms. So let's start and see what we can learn about this topic. Before we start, the images, text and other materials used in our presentations are for educational purpose only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the same. So landforms created by running water, also known as the fluvial landforms. Let's learn about them. So first is the river course, upper course or the young stage. So as we know that rivers generally originates from the glaciers and because of rain. So there are two types of rivers, and whenever a river is formed from a higher place and moves downwards towards the slope, so a lot of landforms are created. So let's discuss about the upper course or the young stage. So during this state, gorges and canyons are formed. It is a deep cleft between escarpment or cliffs, resulting from weathering and the erosive activity of a river. So when you will ever visit to Rishikesh and you will see the river Ganga and it is flowing between two hilly areas, so that particular type of landform is known as gorges. And as soon as it get widens and is like a step shaped widened shaped, then it will be called canyons. So gorges and canyons are the upper stages landforms. A natural diversion of the headwaters of one stream into the channel of another is known as the river capture. So sometimes what happens is that a river that is flowing on one path is sometimes being captured by a large river. That means a river that is flowing into one river, sometimes it starts flowing into the another big river just besides it. So this type of process is called river capturing. A perfect example of this is the river Tista. Tista used to flow into the river Ganga earlier, but now it becomes the part of Brahmaputra. So that is called river capturing. This is typically resulting from rapid headward erosion by the later stream. Waterfall, it is a vertical drop in a stream bed. Waterfalls are the sites of vigorous erosion. Rapids, stream sections with extremely strong currents and numerous obstacles that step in their stream beds are known as rapids. They also are the sites of vigorous erosions. So do remember, uh, whenever you go for rafting, you will find these rapids, and these are formed because of the obstacles in the flow of water in front of the flow of water, and creates a very bad stream beds, and sometimes it also forms into the famous rapids like the golf course rapid in Rishikesh. Valley or middle course, a winding curve or bend of a river is known as meanders. So meandering is like the flowing of a river like a snake, and when these rivers meandering in any particular area and creates the u-shaped type of lakes, and these type of structures are called the meanders. So whenever you will find a lot of curve or bend found in the river structure, that is called meanders. River cliffs and slip of slopes. So when the river is flowing and is cutting down the areas of the mountains and other regions that are besides it, it sometimes also creates river cliffs, like a particular mountain from the top of that we can directly jump into the water. So that are called river cliffs, and that is also formed because of the fluvial landforms or the river flow. Plain or lower course. Now the river has come into the plain areas after coming from the upward mountain areas. Now let's talk about the landforms that are created here. So first is the floodplains. It is a low-lying ground area which is adjacent to a river, formed mainly of river sediments and subject to flooding. So generally, the northern plains or the Gangetic Brahmaputra plains in which we lives are generally known as the floodplains, and they are formed because of the adjacent of a river or the particular rivers and sediments, and the flooding of river creates these type of plains. Oxbow lakes. These type of lakes forms when a wide meander from the main stem of a river is cut off and creates a free-standing body of water. It is usually a U-shaped lake. So Oxbow Lake is the type of a lake that is a U-shaped lake, and it forms when the meandering of a river occurs, and after some meandering, a part of meander is cut out from the main stream of the river and creates a U-shaped lake. So that type of U-shaped lake is called the Oxbow Lakes. Another one is the delta. So delta at the mouth of a river is a triangular tract of sediment deposit occurs and diverges into several outlets. The triangular tract of sediment deposit is known as delta. So when a river flows into the sea, it creates the branches while merging into the sea, like Ganga Brahmaputra merges together, and when the time comes and it flows into the Bay of Bengal, it creates the branches of rivers. And these branches, if you accumulate together, you will see a shape of a triangle. That triangular shape is known as the delta. Then the erosional landforms of running water. So when the water flows, it creates a lot of major type of landforms. Along with that, the minor landforms are also created, like the potholes. Potholes are the circular depressions on rocky beds of hills. So when the river flows, and if a time comes when the river is flowing with a large big rock, and that large big rock starts crunching into the riverbed and creates a hole in it, that type of landform is called a potholes. It forms when stream erosion is aided by abrasion of rock fragments. Plunge pools. Plunge pools are the large and deep holes at the base of waterfalls. So if you have ever seen a waterfall, then you can see that the point where the water from the waterfall reaches, it creates a kind of a depression and a kind of a pool there. So that type of pool is called a plunge pools. River terraces. River terraces are produced due to the vertical erosion through the stream into its own depositional floodplain. So these are called the river terraces. Paired terraces. Paired terraces are the kind of a river terraces which occur at the same elevation on either side of the river. Unpaired terraces. Such river terraces which occur at different elevations are called river unpaired terraces. So there are different type of river terraces as well, and these are the another type of landforms which are created in the plains. Depositional landforms of running water. Always remember that whatever type of landforms we are studying, or because of any kind of phenomena, that phenomena creates two type of landforms. One is the erosional, that we already have learned in case of fluvial landforms, and another one is the depositional. The type of sediment that they have eroded will accumulate somewhere and create another type of landform. So that is called the depositional landforms of running water. So first is the alluvial fans. So when a stream flow from higher levels and break into foot slope plain of low gradient, then the load gets dumped as a broad low to high cone shaped deposit. As a result, alluvial fans are formed. So we all know that the river, when it starts from the mid Himalayan ranges and great Himalayan ranges, they started flowing towards the plains. So they comes in contact with the Shivaliks. That is a kind of a wall in front of it at that time, and when these rivers comes in contact with them, they started eroding them, and as soon as they eroded them or create a fissure or crack, the large amount of water comes into the plains along with a lot of sediment. That sediment accumulates and creates a fan structure that is called a alluvial fan. Natural leaves. Natural leaves are the ridges of coarse deposits along the bank of rivers. So whenever you are visiting a river, you will see that in plain areas, sometimes a mound of the land is created besides the river on the banks of it. So that are called the natural leaves. They are parallel, low and linear ridges coarse deposits. Then point bars. The bar points are generally found on the convex side of meanders of large rivers. They formed when sediments deposits in a linear fashion through flowing waters along the bank of rivers. Braided channels. Braided channels formed when a thread-like stream of water rejoined and subdivided repeatedly. As a result, braided pattern formed. Braid, I hope you all know, the girls have long braids in their hairs, and whenever the river is continuously rejoining and dividing from the main stream and crossing it, intersecting it, then it creates the braid channels. So that are also found in the um, plain areas. A bunch of braided pattern are called braided channels. Then the glaciers, a large perennial accumulation of crystalline ice, snow, rock, sediment, and liquid water are called glaciers. They originate on land and move down slopes under the influence of their own weight and gravity. At present, there are only two major ice caps are present: Antarctic, Greenland. So if we talk about the glaciers, so glaciers also creates landforms. If a large amount of ice is accumulated at any place, then it will also start departing away or starts melting away. And because of these type of movements of glaciers, the landforms will also create, because the sediment will also be formed and accumulation of sediment will also be formed. So because of which the glaciers creates a type of a landforms. So as I said, these are type of landforms are created by the weight and the gravity, and the ice caps are present majorly in Antarctic and Greenland, and because of them, the lot of landforms are found here. Piedmont Glacier. Several glaciers may converge to form an extensive ice mass at the foot of the mountain glacier. These glaciers are known as Piedmont Glacier. So if ever you visit a mountain that has a lot of ice on it, then at the foot of the mountain glacier there are several large extensive ice mass at the foot is found, that is called the Piedmont Glacier. Landforms of glaciations. Kori or Kirk. This is also sometimes pronounced as Cirque or Kirk, and let's see what it is all about. So Kori is a depression or lower land where snow accumulates. So if ever you visit a mountain, and there you will find a glacier that is accumulated on the slope, and because of this accumulated ice, a depression creates, and during the summertime, the whole ice will melt and the water will remain. The type of depression that is created because of the heavy weight of ice and gravity, that particular area or landform is called cirque or kirk. Aratus and pyramidal peaks. Knife as ridges peaks are formed when two quarries cut back on each other. These knife edged ridges peaks are called aratus. So we already have learned that what are cirques or quarries. So when the two type of quarries are creating on the two sides of a mount, and because of that the ridge is getting shaped like a knife, so that type of structure is called aratus. Berg's Strand. So when snow starts to leave the quarry and a deep vertical crack occurs at the head of a glacier, these deep vertical cracks are called Berg's Strands. That means when the glacier starts melting and the flow of water starts, so that type of crack that is formed is called Berg's Strands. U-shaped glacial trough. This is really important. So these type of valleys are a geological formation characterized by high and steep sides and a rounded or flat valley bottom. These type of glacial trough are located all over the world, especially in high area mountains, because these areas are geographically ideal for glacial formation. So if a chain of mountains are there, and on all the mountains the cirques are formed, and on those cirques or kirks or kori, the river or the water starts flowing out of these kirks, they creates a u-shaped valley in between that, and that type of u-shaped valley is called a u-shaped glacial trough. Some examples of u-shaped valleys are as follows: Zizir Valley in Portugal, Leh Valley in India, Nant Paf Rancon Valley in Wales, Hanging Valley. So these are some of the examples of the U-shaped valleys. So in India, you can find these type of valleys in Leh. Hanging valleys also are the U-shaped valleys above their respective main valleys. At a point where the two valleys meet, there is a steep wall. Basically, these valleys are found in regions of high altitude in mountainous regions. Hanging valleys are natural crevices through which river flows. Where the two valleys meet, the river dramatically drops to form waterfalls at a cliff meeting point. So these are the different type of hanging valleys, and hanging valleys are basically found in all these areas in different size and shapes. Now moraines. So they are formed by the debris that was previously carried along by the glacier. Lateral moraines and terminal moraines are marking the maximum advance of the glacier. At the side of the ice flow, where lateral moraines are formed, while at the foot, terminal moraines are formed. So moraines are basically formed when the glacial starts melting and also starts accumulating the sediments beneath it because of the weight and gravity, and that is because of which the moraines are formed. Now, landforms of glaciated lowlands, rocks, mountains. They are glaciated bedrock surface. They are generally in the form of rounded knobs, crag and tail. They are isolated from other high ground and are generally a rocky hill or mountain. Then boulder clay or glacial till. So many large stones and boulders are contained by the boulder clay. They formed by deposition from melting glaciers and ice sheets. Then erratic, a piece of rock that eroded and transported by a glacier to a different area is known as erratic. Then drumlins, elongated teardrop shaped hills of rocks, sand and gravels that formed under moving glacier ice are known as drumlins. So all these type of landforms that we can see are the type of the accumulation of sediments that are formed because of the glacier, and when the glacier melts they accumulate the sediments along with them, and because of which the Roche mountains, crag tails, boulder clay, erratic drumlins are formed. Eskers, it is formed through a long winding ridge of stratified sand and gravel. Then outwash plains. At the terminus of a glacier, a plain formed by of glacial sediments deposited by meltwater outwash. Such type of plains are called outwash plains. Now let's talk about the desert or arid landforms. So these are the landforms which we can find or we can see in the deserted areas like the Thar Desert, Sahara Desert and all these areas. So let's talk about them. So here you can see a perfect diagram in which a lot of different type of landforms are shown like the buttes, pillars, mesa outliners, slope foot, cusetta, scree slope. So you can directly see that these type of landforms that you can see here are formed because of different type of activities, either water, rain, wind, storms, or any some other type of activities which because of which the accumulation and erosion of these landforms occurs. So in between 15 to 30-degree north and south of equator, on the western margins, almost all deserts are located. It has a geographical phenomena because of which only on the western side the major deserts are found, like the Thar Desert, the Atacama Desert, the Mojave Desert. All you can find on the western side. We will talk about it in the climatology chapter. Deserts mainly lie in the trade wind belt on the western part of the continents, in which trade winds are offshore. Here, the cold currents bathed it, and these currents are devoid of any moisture. So, perfect example or the explanation of this phenomena also has been shared here. That on the western side, mainly the cold currents are found, and as the cold currents do not create any kind of moisture, so there will be no rainfall, because of which this becomes one of the reasons because of which the deserts are found on the western side. Now, types of desert. So first is the Hamada or rocky desert. So Hamada desert is a type of desert landscape where most of the sand is removed by deflation. It consists of high, largely barren and hard rocky plateaus. Rag or stony desert. Interlocking angular or rounded rock fragments of pebble and cobble size cover the surface of these type of deserts. Sandy or erg desert. These type of deserts are mainly covered with wind-swept sand with little or no vegetative cover. A sandy desert is a broad and flat area. Badlands. In badlands, soft sedimentary rocks and clay rich soils are eroded through wind and water. They are the type of dry terrain where rocks have been eroded slowly by wind and water. So these are the different type of landforms which are formed because of the different phenomena in the desert or arid landforms, which I already told you. And as you can see, the erg desert, stony desert, rocky desert, badlands, these are formed because of the different phenomena which are occurring in these areas. Mountain desert. These type of deserts are usually found on plateaus and mountain ranges. Steep slopes, irregular and sharp peaks are the major characteristic of mountain desert. Landforms of wind erosion in deserts. Rock pedestals or mushroom rock or gore. So generally the type of rocks that are shaped in the form of a mushroom are found in the deserted areas, and these are called the rock pedestals, mushroom rocks or gore. They are naturally occurring rocks and also called a mushroom rock, whose shape resembles a mushroom by weathering and erosion, as I was saying. Zeugen. A zeugen forms in those desert areas where the alternating horizontal layers of hard and soft rocks occur. Yardangs. It is an irregular and sharp ridge of sand that is formed by the wind erosion of adjacent material, which is less resistant. It forms in the direction of a prevailing wind that is exposed in desert areas. So, all the students who are learning this chapter, always remember the main question that will come in front of your exam is the type of landforms and associated with which type of thing. So do remember that Zugan, Yardings and mushroom rocks are associated with the wind erosion type of landforms in desert and arid landforms. Then comes mesas and buttes. So mesa is a comparatively smaller in area than a plateau. It is an isolated flat-topped hill or mountain with steep sides. Buttes. It is also a flat-topped hill with steep sides but smaller in area as compared to mesa. Inselberg. So it is a small mountain similar to the knob and ridge mountain that rises abruptly from a vertical level surrounding plain or gentle sloping. Ventifacts. Ventifacts are formed by the erosive action of wind blown sand. Deflation hollows. Deflation hollows are the place where a layer of sand particles are too heavy for the wind to move it. The sand prevents the surface from being lowered further because these sand particles are removed by wind to a level where a layer of particles becomes too heavy for the wind to move to stabilize it. So these are the different type of desert or arid landforms that are found in the deserted areas. Now let's talk about the deposition of landforms because of winds in deserts. So beaches, these are crescent shaped dunes and they are found in the deserts. If you ever visit the Thar desert or any desert, you will find these type of dunes being created because of the winds, because of the deposition of sand. Then seaf, it is a long narrow sand dune formed by the wind. Safe is formed in a parallel to the wind that is responsible for its construction. Parabolic dunes, reversed beacons with wind direction being the same. Longitudinal dunes, these type of dunes are generally low in height but appears as long ridges of considerable length. Transverse dunes, transverse dunes are aligned perpendicularly to the wind direction. So if the wind is flowing in this direction, then the type of landforms will create in this direction. These type of landforms are called, or dunes are called, transverse dunes. Loess, so those surfaces which are covered by the deposits of wind transported silt, which are settled out from dust storms over many thousands of years, are called loess. Such type of deposition are known as the loess. Now let's talk about the limestone and chalk landform, and they are also called the type of karst topography. So both are organic sedimentary rocks. They origin from the accumulation of corals and shells in the sea. Calcite or calcium carbonate is the pure form of limestone, but it is termed dolomite when magnesium is also present in it. Chalk is pure white in color, as well as it is very pure form of limestone which is soft in nature. Limestone is soluble in rainwater, so when it comes in direct contact with the carbon dioxide from the air, then it forms a weak acid, that is calcium carbonate. So these type of landforms are formed because of the contacting with the water majorly. So limestone and chalk landforms. So karst region, as I was saying, so it is a very distinctive type of topography in the region of a large stretch of limestone. These regions have a bleak landscape, generally with absence of surface drainage. As a result, most of the surface water goes underground. Karst regions cut their way along the joints and fissures of the rock for the greater part of their course. As a result, the groundwater channel systems comes to an end. So whenever the surface of the earth comes in contact with the rainwater or the river water, and because of some sinkholes or any holes because of which this water uh, goes down the ground and becomes the part of the underground water, and it comes in contact with any kind of dolomite or chalk or limestone, then it will create the caves and the type of a fissure or cracks, and because of which the stalactite and stalagmite and caves like structures are found in the beneath the earth. So these are called karst topography. Then limestone pavements, they are formed by the combination of chemical weathering and erosion, which is flat expanse of exposed limestone. Grits and clints, both are the separate but integral part of pavement. Grikes, they are the fissure that isolate the individual clints. Clints, the block of limestone, are known as clints that constitute the paving. Shallow holes, shallow holes are small carved on limestone which is formed by solution. At the weak zone of limestone, where rainwater enters inside the small hole, it is also known as sinkholes. Limestone gorges. So when the roof of a large underground cavern collapses, as a result, it forms a steep sided gorge with a river running in the bottom. In this region, limestone gorges are formed. Resurgence, they are formed when water passes down through a shallow hole and it flows underground along bedding planes and down joints. Uvala. Uvala is a closed karst depression which is generally a terrain form of elongated or composed structure. It is larger in size than that of sinkholes. Poles. Poles is an elongated basin which consists of a flat floor and steep walls. Stellistites. It is an unique formation of nature which hangs from the ceiling of caves. So when the water comes in contact with the chalk and limestone type of rocks, then they start sinking into the caves with the help of water, and as soon as this solution solidifies, it creates the hanging wall or ceiling of the caves. So these hanging ceilings are known as the stellistite. And stalagmites, so it is a type of a rock formation. So when the dripping of solution of limestone and water reaches the ground and it starts accumulating, and it also starts growing from the ground surface towards the ceiling, it creates a type of a rock formation that is called stalagmites in the rock in the caves. Due to the accumulation of material deposits on the floor from ceiling drippings, as a result, it rises from the floor of a cave. Any relief features present along the coast are known as coastal landforms. So coastal landforms we are now understanding. So coastal landforms are generally formed because of the flow of seawater, and as seawater reaches the coast and comes in contact with different type of rocks, it creates the coastal landforms. So there are some examples of coastal landforms as follows: capes and bays. Cape, it is an adjacent point of land that extends beyond the adjacent coast into a sea or lake. So if you ever visit a peninsula, and the end point of a peninsula is generally termed as cape, this is also termed as the point from where we can see the water on the three sides. Like the Cape component, that is the southernmost point of the mainland of India, that is the also known as Kanyakumari, which is called a cape. Bay, it is a body of water and its more or three quarters are surrounded by land, like the Bay of Bengal, you can see. So bays are formed when, because of the water, a large encampment of fissure or area is being indulged into the water. Cliffs and wave cut platforms. So cliffs are generally formed by rock that is resistant to weathering and erosion. So they are formed as erosion landforms by the process of weathering and erosion. So these type of landforms are hard to cut down or erode away. So because of the flow of water, a type of a cliff formation takes place, and these are called the cliffs. Wave cut platforms. These platforms are formed when destructive waves hit against the cliff face, and it causes an undercut between the high and low water marks as a result of corrosion, abrasion, and hydraulic action, making a wave cut notch. So if you visit a particular sea beach, and you will find the type of water that is cutting down the platform of cliff into different steps, this is called the wave cut platforms. Then the landforms in coastal regions. So cave, arc, stack, and stump. So cave, when in the cliff face, waves forces their way into cracks as a result of sand and other materials associated with water that grind away at the rock until the crack becomes a cave. So in these cliffs, if at some place the water as well as the sediments along with it starts creating a cracks, and because of which the caves are formed, these are called the caves in the cliff areas. Arc. When the formation region of the cave is a headland, then it eventually breaks through to the other side. As a result, an arc will form. Stack. When the arc slowly becomes bigger until it no longer supports the top of the arc. After some time, the arc collapses and leaves a headland on one side, forming a stack. Stump will form when the stack will be attacked at the base in the same way that a wave cut notch is formed. As a result, this weakens the structure and it will eventually collapse and form a stump. So that is called a stump. Geos and gloops. So geos, in the face of a cliff, it is an inlet, a narrow or a gully and deep cleft. Gloops, behind a cliff face, it is blowhole in which a chimney is developed behind a cliff face. A spray blast happens during high seas in just above a cave. Beaches. Such type of landforms consist of loose particles of rock, sand, etc. So if you ever visit Mumbai or any coastal area, you will find a lot of beaches to be present, and these are the type of landforms which are formed after the accumulation of the eroded sediment and raw sand that is formed out of the cutting of the rocks. They are formed alongside a body of water. Bars and spits. So bars at the mouth of a river on the entrance to a bay. The ridge of shingle beach formed by the pebbles is called a bar. Spits, it is an extended stretch of beach material which projects out to sea and it is joined to the mainland at one end. Marine dunes and dunes belt. So a large amount of coastal sand is driven landwards due to the force of onshore winds and forming extensive marine dunes that stretch into dunes belts. Coastline of submergence. These type of submergence coasts have been flooded by ocean water because of a relative rise in the elevation of sea level at that location. Coastline of emergence. These type of coasts occur due to the local tectonic uplift of the land surface or a fall in the elevation of sea level. It is because of a reduction in the water volume of ocean basin. So basically two type of coastlines, one is the submerged one and one is the immersed one, and submerged one is clearly the area that is flooded by the ocean water, and because of which the coasts get submerged and that are called a submergence coasts. And emergence are the one in which because of the tectonic upliftment the land surface or a fall in the elevation of the sea level, and because of which the reduction of water starts on the coastal areas, that is called a coastline of emergence. Also emergent coasts associated with rocky coastlines, cliffs and nearly flat platform that extends inland, in which tectonically raised older coastal plains have been elevated above the modern land and water interface. Now very important one, ria coasts. So these type of coasts are generally found along an unglaciated land. They are a coastal formation which was once a river valley. So these type of river valleys are turned into a ria coasts. Fjord coasts. Do not get confused with the spelling. It is called fjord, not fazord or ford or anything, but fjord. It is a submerged U-shaped glacial trough which makes the path of glaciers that plunge down from the highlands. Generally, you will find these type of landforms to be present in the glacial areas like Norway, like New Zealand and Greenland areas. Dalmatian coasts. It forms when a continental fold region is submerged, but the terrain basically preserves its correspondence to the tectonic structures. So these are called the Dalmatian coasts. So these all type of different type of coasts are generally found in the areas of the glacial range. Then estuarine coasts. It is a partially enclosed coastal body of brackish water, one or more rivers or streams flowing into it with a free connection to the open sea. So estuaries, you must have heard, is a type of a river which directly flows into the sea and merge without creating any kind of a branch or something. So like Narmada and Tapi, they flows into the Bay of into the Arabian Sea or the Gulf of Cambay, and the type of coast that they create is called the estuarine coast. and they consist of brackish water. Brackish water majorly is not a salt water, not a frost water, not a fresh water, but a mix of it, uh, in which the amount of salt is increased, and because of which it is not called as a fresh water or salt water, but a brackish water. Those lands which are surrounded by water on all sides and may occur individually or in a group are called islands. So now we are learning about the islands and coral reefs. Coral reefs, shell forming creatures, lime secreting tiny animals and coral polyps. Calcareous algae live in large colonies. Skeleton of polyps are cemented into coralline limestone. Precious coral of the Pacific Ocean and a red coral of the Mediterranean Sea are non-reef building species. Fringing reefs. It lies near the coast and increases outward from the mainland, separated by shallow lagoons. It becomes wide when fringing protruding headland, but absent when while facing the mouth of the stream. Patch reefs. Isolated outcropping of corals, or known as patch reefs, which are in close proximity to each other, but they are physically separated by sand rings. So coral reefs is a type of a microorganism that resides on the basis of the minerals that it absorbs, like calcium carbonate and other things, and because of which a hard structure forms out of them and creates the coral reefs. And these are the different type of reefs that are formed because of some other type of phenomena, like some are formed in the lagoons, they are called fringing reefs. Some are found besides a sand patch, that is called the patch reefs. Then comes the barrier reefs. So they are physically separated by wider and deeper reefs channels, but they are partially submerged and there are narrow gaps at several places which allow water to enter inside it. Examples: Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Queensland. Atolls. Atolls are circular and enclosed shallow lagoons without any land in the center. Condition for coral formation. So there are several factors behind coral reef formation. Some important factors are as follows. Temperature of the water must not be below 20 degrees Celsius. Less than 100 feet of shallow water is ideal. Depth of water should not exceed 30 fathoms or 180 feet, as beyond it sunlight is too faint. Coral reef survives best in warmer tropical seas. Water must be free from sediments and water should be saltish. So wherever you can find these type of phenomena occurring at the same time, it is a perfect place to for the coral reefs to emerge and to create their lives. And do remember all these points. These are really important because many a times they will not ask you about the coral reefs, but they will ask you that what are the important aspects because of which the coral reefs can be formed. And do remember, Great Barrier Reef, it is found off the coast of Queensland and that is in Australia. So on the northeastern side of Australia, sorry, the Great Barrier Reef is found. And that's it in this session. I hope you learned a lot of things with me in this session and gained great knowledge. I will meet you in the next session. Till then, bye bye and thank you.